Here now is John Tamny, Real Clear Markets editor. John, great to see you. You know, we had 2 quarters of a shrinking economy this year so far. We had a slight bump in the third quarter of about 2%, but we have a flat economy. That's not an overheated economy, is it?
Well, but even if it were an overheated economy, the notion that you can fight inflation by putting people out of work and destroying businesses is the equivalent of Tom Brady throwing 2 touchdowns in the first quarter and being benched in the second, lest he throw a third and fourth.
Yeah, exactly.
Individuals comprise an economy. Individuals cannot overheat. Michael Jordan got better and better. They didn't bench him by his 3rd season to make sure he didn't improve. That's what we're all trying to do. So this idea that there's a limit to growth or limits to growth vandalizes common sense, and it tells you all you need to know about the economics profession.
Now, that doesn't mean that the economy, that the government is much too large a part of the economy. I mean, if there's anything overheated, it's the spending that's fueling the growth of government. That's where the overheating is, no?
Well, of course, and government spending is the ultimate tax on growth, because what do economies rely on to grow? They require investment. Investment is the process whereby we produce more and more at lower prices. The surest sign of a growing economy is that all sorts of goods and services that used to be out of reach are falling in price. Economists literally believe that when we're growing, things become out of reach for us, which is exactly backwards of what happens.
And the point is that if you want to reduce inflation is too much money chasing too few goods. It's something most people agree on. That second part of that equation is totally lost on most economists. We need more productivity so that we can produce more goods and more services. That's what will lower inflation, no?
Well, yeah, I mean, this idea of fighting inflation by destroying the economy, it's the wartime equivalent. We had to destroy the city in order to save it. It's an utter non sequitur. If you want to fight inflation, you stabilize the currency. Ronald Reagan ran on returning the dollar to price stability. Bill Clinton's presidency was a continuation of Ronald Reagan's presidency in a dollar sense. Mm-hmm. George W. Bush and Barack Obama made it all about devaluing the dollar. If you want inflation, devalue the dollar. If you want to arrest inflation, you pursue dollar price stability. There's nothing obtuse about this, or there's nothing outre. Fighting inflation is simple, and it has nothing to do with putting people out of work.
Now, the one thing that has put people out of work, purposely so, were these shutdowns that we had during the pandemic. And a lot of people are still working at home. Productivity is down. We have productivity down about 4%. That's the biggest year-to-year drop in productivity since 1948, since records began to be kept. That also increases inflation because it means each individual worker produces less than they used to. So we have fewer supplies of stuff that we need. How do we get productivity back other than getting people back into the office?
Well, you know, it's a crucial point. Let's remember when the 20th century began, cars were rarer than millionaires, and millionaires were incredibly rare. How did cars suddenly become a common good? Henry Ford figured out that if you divide up work among tens of thousands of individuals, you can produce exponentially more. And so heading into 2020, billions of workers around the world were engaged in trillions of different commercial relationships globally, only for politicians to decide that the way to fight a virus was to put much of the world out of work. That prices are higher today is a statement of the obvious after you've eviscerated these global trading relationships that gave us the miracle of low prices before. All I would stress about this is higher prices born of command and control are not inflation. Inflation is a devaluation of the currency. We have higher prices today precisely because politicians around the world robbed us of our freedoms. So we need to define these things correctly, else we do the exact wrong thing to fight it.
Well, in 2 weeks, we're going to have an election which should redefine what people want in terms of economic policy. The main thing they want is to get rid of inflation. They want price stability so that they can rely on the dollars that they earn today will be worth the same a week and a month and a year from now so that they can hold on to the money that they've earned. But you have just the opposite message coming out of the White House. Let me just play a little soundbite of the White House spokesperson talking about what she says Biden inherited when he came into office. Roll tape.
So when the president walked into this administration, the economy was in ruins. It was in absolute ruins.
Well, very quickly, John, when Biden came into office, we had 6% growth and 1.4% inflation. It wasn't in ruins. We're getting a total sort of Alice in Wonderland look at the way the economy was going and the way it's gone.
Well, so if the economy was in ruins, why did we have an inflation problem? See, they're actually contradicting each other and saying it, but I would say that both sides are. Both sides buy into this sick notion. Republicans say that Paul Volcker had to destroy the economy to break inflation in the early 1980s. Utter nonsense.
Yes.
And the same thing is being said here. You know this better than I. The inflation discussion has retreated to the 1970s, and it's tragic. You were at the Wall Street Journal editorial page that discredited all this nonsense back then. It is now reviving itself. Suddenly, tax cuts and economic growth cause inflation. Beliefs that are not more destructive than what's taking place right now.
Exactly. It's destructive to the economy. It's destructive to our minds. I mean, the idea, the notion that it's bad to produce, that's a fundamental characteristic of a healthy human being. We need to produce. It's good for the economy. It's good for us. We got to get back into that notion and increase the incentives by lowering taxes and lowering the regulations. John Tamny, you know that so well. It's such a pleasure to have you here. Thank you very much for being here.